Ready? I wonder where Andrew is. All right, I'd like to welcome everybody to the April 14th, 2022 public hearing of the Jefferson County Planning and Zoning Commission. Planning and Zoning Commission is charged with regulating the subdivision of property in the unincorporated areas of Jefferson County. You will be given the decision of the Commission today regarding subdivision request, and the plat representative will receive the decision in writing within 10 business days. Please note that any subdivision approved today is not complete. In order to complete the subdivision of your property, a final plat must be recorded in the Office of the Judge of Probate. County staff will be coordinating with the surveyors of today's approved preliminary plats to prepare the approved plats for recording. The Planning and Zoning Commission is also charged with evaluating requests for rezoning of property and advising the County Commission for their final determination. All decisions made by the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding zoning cases are advisory only, and the final determination of the zoning will be made by the Jefferson County Commission in a subsequent public hearing for which all property owners within 500 feet will be notified. If everybody would please silence their phones to make sure that they don't go off during our meeting, and if the clerk would please call the roll.
Here.
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 Here. Here. All right, thank you. If everybody's had a moment to read the minutes or the proposed minutes from our March meeting, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to suspend the reading of the March minutes and approve as written.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. Oh, excuse me, a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. All right, the ayes have it. All right, we'll now move into our subdivision cases. For our subdivision cases, the staff will present the case to the board, and then we will call for anyone here in opposition to the case. The applicant and or their representatives may then be asked to come forward to the podium and answer any questions from the commission. Our first subdivision case is S22-12. This is a request by Olus Ray Ireland and Wade Eugene Ireland and Renee Spear for two-lot subdivision of approximately 0.51 acres in the Forestdale area. Mr. Martin, if you would please go ahead and present the case for us.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is a proposed subdivision to divide an acreage tract here into two lots of record. There's actually two existing homes on this property already. It's likely predated our zoning requirements. Thus, they're coming to separate those houses in order to sell one of them. The lot one actually has less than the required 10,000 square feet that's required in R1 zoning, R2 zoning. However, they did receive a variance from the Board of Zoning Adjustment this March 28 to have less than that 10,000 square feet. So, thus, it's now acceptable in regards to the lot size. There's no anticipated road access or traffic operation issues here. Right-of-way has already been dedicated for Heflin and Chad Street. We're adjacent to the property. And there is going to be a sewer connection here, or I think there already is a sewer connection here, so Environmental Services will have to sign this plat as well. Staff is recommending approval for the subdivision.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. We'll now open the public hearing and ask if anyone is here in opposition to please come forward. And folks, if anybody comes forward to speak today, please be sure to state your name and address to begin with. All right, seeing no opposition, is the applicant here? All right, thank you. All right, are there any questions from the commission for the applicant or any discussion? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S22-0012 as presented.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. All right, the ayes have it. Our next case is S22-20, Attic Plus A General Partnerships request for a 4-lot subdivision of approximately 1.64 acres in the Huntington Park area. Mr. Martin, if you would, please present the case for us.
Yes, this is a subdivision for a proposed 4-lot development here. There's actually 4 lots shown here on Happy Lane, and actually part of this parent tract is labeled as future development. It's 2.26 acres, so approximately half the parent tract to be platted. 4 lots for record for residential use. This is this is also the subject property of a recent rezoning case for C1 zoning that was denied by Jefferson County Commission for expansion of a mini warehouse business that's adjacent to that property. In addition to that, after staff review, per the local fire chief that's providing, that would provide coverage for these lots, they are requiring a fire hydrant to be installed here. So that's something that will have to be done prior to the final plat being signed by the county engineer. Other than that, this all meets all the requirements for R1 zoning. The future development will have to come for the Planning and Zoning Commission again once it's determined that they want to plat that to be included in a subdivision again. Other than that, the right-of-way will have to be dedicated here on Happy Lane, which I believe that is already in the works. And the Department of Health will have to sign off for approval of the on-site septic systems that will be used on these properties. Staff is recommending approval for the subdivision.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. We'll now open the public hearing and call for anyone here in opposition to please come forward.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Carol Chesson. I represent Dr. Deborah Seema, Oxmoor Valley Orthodontics, which is adjacent to this property. And we are not in opposition to having it being divided, but we did have some concerns, and we emailed those concerns and would just like to make that point in front of the committee that if those would be addressed, and I'll be glad to address those now. If that's not appropriate, then just please read our email.
Ms. Chesler, if you could, just so the applicant hears it as well,
Sure.
Because I don't know that they would have gotten everything that we would have received, but if you wouldn't mind going over your points just very generally for the benefit of everybody here today.
Okay, so we have 5 points. What first would be, would this subdivision require Happy Lane to be widened?
Okay.
And second, how will the water drainage runoff of the development be designed?
Okay.
Third, will a traffic light be installed at the intersection of Happy Lane and West Oxmoor Road? And may I also say, we had asked about that even prior to this development, and I know that's an engineering department, but maybe the squeaky wheel may get the grease, that we're concerned about the traffic issue there with no traffic light coming down of Fluff Park. And then fourth, will the new construction be connected to the sewer or an individual septic tank? And then how will the traffic be handled during construction? Because we are, I'll be an orthodontic clinic there on that corner, and we have a variety of ages that are coming in there and driving and parking, and so we do have concerns about heavy construction and how they would handle that during that time. And we appreciate your time.
Certainly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here in opposition to this case? All right. Is the applicant here? If you would, sir, Mr. Rawson, please come forward. And I made notes of Ms. Chesler's items, and I'll make sure to keep you on track with them. But if you could touch on her concerns.
As far as drainage, we're going to do whatever is required by the county regulations.
And Mr. Rawson, just 1 second. As far as county regulations in connection with this subdivision case, do we what kind of regulations do we have relating to stormwater runoff, drainage, and that sort of thing?
Post-development do not exceed 3.
Okay. Okay. All right. Ms. Chesler, did you hear that? He says that the post-development runoff rate can't exceed the pre-development runoff rate. All right.
As far as widening the road has recently been paved, or I don't know how recently, but it looks good. And we haven't been required to
Okay.
widen the road.
And maybe roads and transportation, if anybody can weigh in on that, widening and traffic lights. Have we studied the impact of this proposed subdivision on the roads, and are we requiring any widening or any traffic lights or anything of that nature?
We have not currently studied the impacts. How many homes will be in this? Four. And typically, of this size, 4 homes type subdivision, we typically wouldn't even require a traffic study necessarily, because usually it's a 100 trips per hour increase that would trigger that. And this size of subdivision, I don't foresee would trigger that. Now, separate from the subdivision, to speak on the intersection, I'm not aware. That intersection could have been studied in the past. I'm not sure. We can speak offline about that particular. I can give you my contact information. We can see if that has been studied, and if not, what if we need to. But as per just the subdivision itself, I wouldn't see any reason that we would have to restudy or widen.
Okay. So in some, based on your engineering perspective, you don't perceive any traffic issues, widening requirements or anything of that nature?
That's correct.
All right. And you as the developer don't have any proposed either?
Right.
Okay. And then sewer and septic, and also construction traffic, about how that'll be
Doing,
handled?
septic tanks.
Okay.
We've submitted the 4 lots.
Okay.
And my understanding is if you're less than 5 lots, they'll be approved on an individual basis.
Meets and bounds, that's correct.
That's right. So we'll present the map to the health department to sign, which I assume they will.
Okay.
As far as construction traffic, these are homes, not commercial construction. It's not heavy construction. So I don't know how to reply to that.
Yeah, I mean, the heaviest thing will be a concrete truck that you may use to pour a slab or a foundation, and then perhaps a second time to pour a driveway.
Right.
And everything else will be making lumber drops and things of that nature. Yes, Dr. Dickerson.
Are all 4 homes going up at the same time?
I don't know, to be honest with you.
I mean, that would address the issue about the construction and the traffic and all of that if they were not going up at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would suspect they're gonna build them one at a time, but I really don't know.
Okay.
All right. All right. Thank you, Mr. Rawson. Do you have anything else to add?
No.
Yeah. I mean, here's one of the things just to point out. When we review a subdivision case, if the proposed layout of the lots, the widths and the areas and things like that meet the criteria within our subdivision regulations, then our review is very limited. If you meet it, you're really entitled to approval. And so some of the things, such as how will the construction traffic get there and things like that, are really, I think, beyond the scope of our consideration. But I hope that some of the answers to your questions helps allay any concerns that you've got. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Are there any other questions or comments before we close the public hearing? All right. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S 22-0020 as presented.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right. The ayes have it. Our next case is S 22-21. Zachary Taylor and Tim and Christy Averhart request a 2-lot subdivision of 37.34 acres in the corner area. And folks, if y'all's case has been heard, feel free to go ahead and leave. You're not rude for walking out of the meeting. Stay if you like. We'd love to have you, but if your case is concluded, feel free to leave. So, all right, Mr. Martin, if you will, please go ahead with the next case.
This is a proposed subdivision to properly convey 2 acreage tracts into 2 lots of record for residential use. This was a cleanup job, more or less, on a property that was split by deed in 2021. So thus they need to come before P&Z committee today to receive approval before they can get building permits. So this is a cleanup job. It Does have a 35-foot, Lot 2 had a 35-foot frontage on Miller Road, which was less than the required 50 feet. However, they did receive a variance from the Board of Zoning Adjustment to have 30 feet of road frontage in lieu of the 50 required. So with that, they meet all the requirements from our zoning regulations. There's no anticipated road access or traffic operation issues. Right-of-way dedication will be required for Miller Road, 25 foot from center line. We're adjacent to the property, and there's no sewer available, so the Health Department will have to give approval for those septic systems. Staff is recommending approval for the subdivision.
All right, thank you, Mr. Martin. We'll now open the public hearing and ask for anyone in opposition to this case to please come forward. All right, is the applicant here by chance? All right, thank you. Are there any questions from the commission for the applicant? Or any discussion? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve S22-0021 as presented.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right, the ayes have it. Our next case is S22-23, Mark Vaughn Stevens and Timothy and Martha Stevens request for a two-lot subdivision of 11.32 acres in the West Concord area. Mr. Martin, if you would, please present the case.
Sir, this is a proposed subdivision to divide an acreage tract into two lots of record for residential use. As you can see here, there's a house existing on Lot 2 that they are cutting out to separate that piece of land from the remaining 10 acres. This complies with all our R1 zoning requirements. There's no anticipated road access or traffic operation issues. No additional right-of-way will have to be dedicated. And there's no sewer available, so Health Department will have to give their approval on the septic systems. Staff is recommending approval for this subdivision.
All right, great, thank you. We'll now open the public hearing and ask if anyone here is in opposition to this case to please come forward. All right, is the applicant here? Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the commission for the applicant? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S22-0023 as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right, the ayes have it. Our next case is S22-24, Orville Story and Constance Story's request for a one-lot subdivision of 12.09 acres in the Marsh Mountain area.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. This is another cleanup job, so to speak. This was to convey two acreage tracts into one lot record, consolidate them into one lot. It does conform to A1 zoning requirements. We will note that not all of the original parent tract was included in this, so that portion of the land that was not included will have to be included in a subdivision in the future to be eligible for any permits. Other than that, there's no anticipated road access or traffic operation issues. Right-of-way dedication will be required for Old Tennessee Pike Road. We're adjacent to property, and the sewer is not available, so the Department of Health will have to give their approval on the septic system. Staff is also recommending approval for this subdivision.
All right, thank you. We'll now open the public hearing and call for anyone here in opposition. Please come forward. All right, seeing none, is the applicant here? All right, are there any questions from the commission for staff? All right, then we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S22-0024 as presented.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right, the ayes have it. Next case is S22-25, Woody and Sharon Gorey's request for a two-lot subdivision of approximately 10 acres in the McCalla area. Go ahead, Mr. Martin.
Yes, this is a re-subdivision to split a lot of record into two lots of record for residential use. This is the Lot 14 of the Pleasant Hill Ore Company's first addition to Pleasant Hill, recorded in 1927, so it's one old lot. But they're splitting into two. One is about an acre, and one's close to 4 acres there. This does comply with all our zoning regulations. We'll note that there is an existing house there that's non-conforming on the setback line, but it's not being caused by this subdivision, so it's just a non-conforming house. There's no anticipated road access or traffic operation issues. Right-of-way dedication will be required for G&H Road, 25 feet from center line. We're adjacent to property. and there's no sewer available, so the health department will have to give their approval for the on-site septic systems. Staff is also recommending approval for this subdivision.
All right. Thank you. We'll now open the public hearing and call for anyone here in opposition to please come forward. All right. Seeing none, is the applicant here? All right. Any questions from the commission? All right. Seeing none, we'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S-22-0025 as presented.
Second.
All right. I've got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right. The ayes have it. All right. Our last standalone subdivision case is S-22-26. This is a request, 27, sorry, 26 will be heard with zoning case 19. So S-22-27, Larry Davis request for a 26-lot subdivision of 17.58 acres in the Concord area. Mr. Martin, if you would, please present the case.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is a proposed subdivision to split 1 acres tract in 26 lots of record. This is for a residential housing development. This was actually approved in 2005, December 8, 2005, by the Planning and Zoning Commission. It was a 31-lot subdivision at the time. Construction did begin on this subdivision. The roads were graded in. I believe the base was put down, maybe even some paving, and for whatever reason, I think it was not completed, and so that was since construction stopped on it for so long, they have to come back before commission today to get approval for the subdivision. It basically conforms to what was originally started. The only exception being there's a few lots less, and there are some common spaces that were added in lieu of the actual lots. The proposed subdivision does comply with our zoning regulations. There's no anticipated road access or traffic operation issues. It is noted that there will be no driveway access granted on Pinewood Avenue. They'll have to come in from the main entrance of that subdivision. There's no sewer available, so the Department of Health will have to give their approval on the septic systems. The staff recommendation is approval.
All right. Thank you. We'll now open the public hearing and ask for anyone here in opposition to please come forward. Okay. Is the applicant here? All right, great. Are there any questions from the commission for the applicant or any discussion? All right, let's close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S-22-0027 as presented.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right, the ayes have it. Thank you, guys. All right, we'll now move into our zoning cases. For our zoning cases, the staff will present the case to the board like in our subdivision cases, but instead of calling for opposition first, we'll ask the applicant to come forward, and they can add anything they wish to the staff's presentation. After that time, we'll ask for anyone here in opposition to come up and address the commission with their concerns. Each side has a maximum of 15 minutes, and that's not 15 minutes per person. That's 15 minutes for the applicant and 15 minutes total for the opposition. So please be mindful of the time constraints. And if anybody comes before you in opposition and you have opposition too, don't feel the need to repeat something that somebody's already said. I'll be taking notes of the concerns and try to make sure that we have the applicant address your concerns. But just for the sake of timing, don't feel like you need to repeat. All right. Our first zoning case is Z22-5. This is Donald Averhart's request for a change of zoning to A1 for livestock of 4.76 acres in the Mount Olive area.
It's actually zoning case 7. I don't, your template's wrong.
Oh, okay.
The applicant's requesting the map of them to rezone the property for A1 institutional 1 to A1 agricultural for livestock. As you said, the address is 43 Brookside Road, and the site consists of 4.76 acres. There was no opposition to this proposed rezoning, the staff directed.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. We'll now open the public hearing. Does the applicant wish to come forward and add anything to the presentation at this time? Okay. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case? All right, seeing none, is there any discussion? All right. That being the case, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend approval of zoning case Z 22-0007.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, the ayes have it. It looks like we have a corresponding subdivision case also.
Number 22.
Yeah, S 22-22. Mr. Martin, if you would please present it for us.
Essentially, the portion of property is being rezoned as part of it being included in the subdivision from one lot. As part of the parent tract, it was not, this was approved a couple months ago, it was not included, so they're coming back, this is essentially rectifying that.
Okay. All right, thanks. Well, just as a formality, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing and ask for anyone here in opposition to this subdivision case to please come forward. All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S 22-0022 as
Second.
presented.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. All right, moving on to our next zoning case, Z 22-12, Rosser Farms Homeowners Association Incorporated, request for a change of zoning to CC1, which is a country club designation for a clubhouse located on proposed lot 211 of the Rosser Farms Phase 4 plat. Mr. Brown, if you would please present the case for us.
Yes, sir, the applicant's requesting the map and rezone the property from RGC family to CC1, which is the clubhouse, country club zoning district. They're proposing swimming pool as well as a clubhouse. This would be in the very center of this newly developed subdivision. There was no opposition to this proposed rezoning. Staff showed giving approval. I will state that the proposed rezoning is consistent with the Shades Creek watershed master plan.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Brown. We'll now open the public hearing and ask if the applicant wishes to come forward and add anything. Yes, sir.
I just had a quick question.
Yeah, if you give us your name again so I back in here and the address. Okay, and address, please.
I'm the developer for Rosser Farms.
Yes, sir, but we can have your address for the record.
The address, okay, it's 4602 Rosser Farms Parkway.
Okay.
Just a quick question is, in the proposed applications I have, as I'm here, proposed lot 211, I would ask that you guys take into consideration that that not be designated as the address. I will itemize, or should say, give you the record of address from final plat approval. The reason why 211 is a proposed lot we're going to sell. It's not the clubhouse lot itself. We have on our plat identified as a clubhouse lot. I just don't want that confusion. I ask you guys to take into consideration that the final plat be the determination factor for the address.
Well, we are, need to approve a specific piece of property. So is it not the lot 211 that's shown on y'all's plat map? Is that what you're saying?
So on the plat map, there is 211, and then next to it is a clubhouse lot.
Yeah, I do better with visuals. I'm sorry. I'm just.
I just wanted that designation because I didn't want to be stuck to having 211 be identified as a clubhouse lot. Now we lose a lot that we're intending to sell.
Okay.
So 211 is the lot next to it, and you can see the boundary lines here. And then this lot here is the clubhouse lot, is what we're identifying.
All right, so this is your site plan essentially. Where is the plat map? Do we have the plat map, Phase 4 plat map for Rosser Farm so we can see?
Yeah, it's in the package, page 4 of the group. I mean, it's not labeled as a lot, but the resolution on here is really bad. Will it go to one more page, on page 4? There you go. There you go, right there. I don't know if you can zoom in.
And sorry, I'm not trying to be difficult. I just want to make sure we're not about to like split zones a piece of property that's been subdivided or something like that.
Thank you, that's what I'm really concerned about.
Yeah.
So the area is actually, you can see it. Yes, it's the large portion right that is identified. What it says on there is clubhouse.
Okay.
Okay, and
It's not identified with a lot number, but it's identified with a label.
just to the northwest, is there a lot designated there?
There's no, yes, 211, as in the previous.
Okay. I mean, the level of detail, I can't even read the clubhouse on there, so.
So just to be clear, we are not rezoning 211. We're rezoning the property to the southwest of that's platted on Phase 4 of Rossford Farms as a clubhouse lot or common area lot. Yeah, Mr. Brown.
Just one point of clarification, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
When the applicant originally made the application through our seller software process, it was shown as lot 211, and we made a correction.
Okay.
So you're looking at your staff report, what you'll see is lot 212. But when it originally came across, the seller with the initial application, it was lot 211. So there was a correction there, and it's probably reflected in your staff report. So it will be labeled as lot 12 with the final plan.
Okay. Would it be too much trouble for us to get the plat map? I mean, or something? If it's readily available, I mean, because this is not a plat map of even of this sector. This is a survey of other sectors, and I just want to make sure we call the property by its correct name.
There's no final
And-
plat for this portion. Okay, so it's just based off what the preliminary number.
Okay. I'm curious to see whether the common area on the preliminary plat was designated by lot number. I'm just curious to see whether on a preliminary plat map, a lot that was designated for clubhouse actually was assigned a lot number on the preliminary plat. Okay, good. Sir, if you just hang tight with us, we'll call your case back up after he gets back. Now let's go ahead and move on now to zoning case 22-13. This is Mary Jana Carroll's request for a change of zoning to A1 for a mobile home of 1.16 acres in the Concord area.
Okay, so, Mr. Chairman, this is a map of the zone property. As I mentioned, the R2 and C1, A1 agricultural for a mobile home. Use of the site of this, Hollywood Avenue, investment area. The site is 1.16 acres. There was no letters of opposition submitted with this case, and the staff is recommending.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. We'll now open the public hearing and ask if the applicant wishes to come forward. Please do so at this time. All right, Dave. Okay. If you just give us your name and address and hang tight, we'll see. Okay, thank you, sir. Just 1 minute, we'll see. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case? All right, seeing none, are there any questions from the commission?
I have one question.
Yes. Yes, Dr. Dickerson, go
Well,
ahead.
the Concord Community Plan recommends against mobile homes, and that's pointed out in the staff information. So how do we deal with that?
Is there a difference between a manufactured home and a mobile home?
I'd have to defer to staff for that. I know there's been some discussion in the past about it, but Mr. Brown, can you help us with that? Distinction between manufacturer and mobile home? Yeah. Yeah. Certainly.
I think one is assembled off-site and brought on-site based on foundation of mobile home versus sometimes not, well, it's not necessarily on foundation.
Yeah. What you're planning on constructing is not sitting on a chassis, basically.
It will take the axles out from under.
Okay.
And it will have a block foundation put around it, or brick or something.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So this area was rezoned after the tornadoes in 2011. It's been our policy to prohibit mobile homes themselves in this area, but it doesn't sound like a manufactured home would fit the.
I think what he's describing would still be considered a mobile home under the zoning.
Yep.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay.
Now, there's a distinction, even modular homes that are built off, or where they have sections that they bring in and they crane install on the site. Under the guise of zoning, it's always been our interpretation that those are also considered mobile homes. Now, I will preface this by saying that we have allowed by variance modular homes in Concord post the tornado. We have allowed 2 or 3 of those in spot locations. Again, and all that was granted by the variance or the Board of Zoning Adjustment as variance. Again, that's just in spot modular homes, and of course, it requires that deal with pitches of the roof. It has to be crane installed over a porch, and all that to sort of distinguish it from what a manufactured home or a mobile home is. And it's also something that's built to a different code. It's built to the ICC code. And for manufactured and mobile homes, I just have a HUD code standard. They're inspected at the same.
So the Concord community did not have a problem with modular.
In each instance that we've had a variance request for a modular home, we've done so in residential zoning without changing the zoning. And again, they have had certain conditions attached to that just to guarantee that it's going to have the presence and appearance of just a traditional stick-built house. In fact, it's caused some sort of, we from time to time go back and forth as to how we're going to amend the regulations to address true modular.
But what was described was not a modular home.
Correct. I think what we described was more or less what we would consider a manufactured mobile home.
And if I may, this kind of hinges on conditional uses. And, either the zoning district allows it or it doesn't. The long-range land use plan for this area identifies this property for a rural village, which the A1 zone district complies with that land designation. Now, and anything in A1 zone district would be permitted, including mobile homes, modular homes, manufactured homes. The Concord Core Plan, I assume it's been adopted by the neighborhood, is more of a guide, in my opinion. The legal document in this case would be the land use plan. You don't necessarily want to go against the wishes of the community, but A1 is certainly consistent with this area in this particular parcel.
So the zoning is consistent, but one of the uses allowed under the zoning, being a mobile home, is not consistent. Is that right? Or one of the structures, mobile homes are allowed under A1, and A1's consistent with the land use plan, but mobile homes is not consistent with the Concord neighborhood plan specifically. Is that an overlay district as such?
It's not an overlay district, not officially. Well, typically what you want to happen in this case is you want a conditional use process within your zoning regulations, which the county doesn't have, unfortunately, where you can, you want to consider the uses for a district, on a parcel or in an area. Unfortunately, the county doesn't have a conditional use process. If you permit the A1 zoning, then you're permitting everything allowed within that A1 zoning district. There have been other cases where we've limited the uses, and, not too often, I'm thinking specifically of the bingo hall what I can tell you is that the staff recommendation is consistent with the land use designation. And again, the A1 zone district would allow all three of the above housing types. And so that's how I arrived at, or how the staff necessarily arrived at its decision. How do you satisfy the community's wishes with the flood clearing? Simply you can deny it, but this will have to be a decision of the P&Z board.
Sure. Okay. All right, thank you. I
Mr. Chairman, may I
understand.
ask a question?
Absolutely, Mr. Bro.
This is directed to the staff. Since the Concord Community Plan has been established or put in place, have we allowed a mobile home / modular home to be built? Or have they had to, and I understand that they made a request for a variance, made some changes, so it didn't quite look like a mobile home?
Correct. And what we've done with those is, again, they appeal to the Board of Zoning Adjustment, essentially sort of for an interpretation regarding true modular homes. Again, those are constructed to the same building code that a single house is. They're just brought from a protected or from a concealed fire onto the site, assembled on the site in pieces as opposed to rather brick by brick. And of course, those that were approved were again approved in residential zones following the public hearing, following notification of everybody within 500 feet, and again with stipulations for pitched roofs, for crane installation over a foundation that extends underneath the front porch, and then again the caveat that it be constructed to the ICC code and not something that is constructed or inspected by the state under the HUD code. Those have been allowed. However, in other requests for agricultural zoning or even for mobile homes, there's not been one that's been approved via the rezoning process.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask the applicant a question?
Certainly.
Based upon what you've been hearing us discuss, sir, would you be willing to make some changes to the home, or are you strictly locked in on having what you described that's going to be brought in onto that property?
I'm not familiar with modular homes, manufactured homes that we've looked at, or some of them are double wides, and some have been several triple wides as well, and they all have taller pitched roofs. I haven't looked into the others, so I'm not familiar with those.
If you was to receive a variance, it would be approved, or they have been approved in the past.
Variances for modular
Homes, yeah.
What I'm
And there is some, in just broader conversation, just to put it very briefly.
Yeah.
There's some question as to whether or not modular homes should just be approved in residential zones.
anyway.
Okay. It's just that the county has always taken the perspective of viewing the modular homes in the same light as a manufactured home. And again, that's something that regulatorily, that we need to look at as far as rewrites of our zoning regulations.
So what if this property was zoned agricultural right now?
If it was zoned agricultural right now,
You would give a
we wouldn't
permit.
have any recourse to deny a permit.
You would for a mobile home, you would permit it.
That's correct.
Okay. And so in the situations where the BZA has heard a variance to allow a mobile home, the classification to allow a modular home, it would have been zoned residential.
Yeah, that's correct. Because modular homes can be permitted by right in agricultural zoning, because again, we've always interpreted and viewed modular homes the same as a manufactured home.
Have you ordered a modular home or mobile home yet? Okay. Do you, I think we need to get this right, and I think you need to have an opportunity to look and see what the ordinance actually says and interpret it for yourself, and to be able to, if you have a different interpretation, to be able to present that to us. So I certainly don't want to drag this out or carry you over unnecessarily, but that may be something worth doing. But Mr. Lowry, have you had some questions?
I do, for the applicant. So, from our maps, I haven't visited the property. What's the current use on the property right now? Has anything ever been there?
No, to my knowledge, no.
Okay. Where I was headed with that was if there was a mobile home on it before the tornado. So,
Not that I'm aware of. I'm the one trying to purchase the property,
okay.
and to my knowledge,
Because if it was, you'd be going with like for like, which meets the Concord plan. So that's where I was headed with that. Okay, I mean, our practice is to honor the local community plans like this, and the kind of home you're talking about putting on is a mobile home, not a manufactured home. Manufactured homes or modular homes are built in pieces and brought to the site instead of being stick-built on site. So we're likely, unless we revisit this and look at other options, recommending not to proceed with it.
Okay.
So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Is there any more discussion? I mean, this is a difficult one for me because it looks like the property immediately to the south and kind of wrapping up around the west side of it, zoned I3, strip mining zoning. And I mean, so your neighbor is largely a strip mine.
And that's in a rural area, if you look at being a rural area,
Yeah.
it seems like any of the 3,000 sites that we permitted, whether it's, particularly with A1.
Yeah. But
It's certainly you all's decision.
yeah, but I'm looking at this and just looking at the surrounding properties and not with regard to the Concord plan. And if the Concord plan says we don't permit mobile homes, then I think, that's what the professional planners and that's what they say needs to be in this area. It's difficult for me to go against that. So, but sorry, if you would like to carry this over, let us know. If not, I'm going to go ahead and call a question and put it up for a vote, okay? All right. Folks, we'll close the public. I think, sir, are you ready for us to go forward with the vote? Yes. All right. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend denial based on the Concord, what's the exact words? The Concord community plans stating that no change in housing types.
Second.
All right. I've got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. All right. The ayes have it. Sir, do remember, this is just a recommending body. We don't make the final decision. The county commission does. The case will proceed forward to the county commission just with a recommendation of denial. And in that time, look into the ordinance and see if you have a different interpretation. If so, I encourage you to present that to the county commission, okay? All right, thank you. All right, look, sir, if you would jump back up here on your Rossford Farms project. This is Z22-12. Mr. Martin, were you able to pull that plat map so we can... I mean, Michael, just a question. I'm not trying to...
I think for continuity of information, I think it's good to be able to clarify.
Yeah.
If needed, like I was telling Mr. Martin, I said that I can have my engineer change the line numbers wherever you guys need.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that you guys tell me what the line number is, so that when I file that for that final plat, it's all identified.
Yeah, what I'm starting to, where my head's gone now is, so we're in the preliminary plat phase. This property hadn't been finally platted, so we're technically split zoning a piece of property, correct?
That is, yes, that is being planted.
So if this subdivision faces the same fate as the subdivision that we had from 2005, you're going to have a larger parcel with split zoning on it.
What we'll do is, or how we've done this in the past is, the legal description has always been part of the parcel, and the proposed lot X.
Okay.
And so, we draw the legal based on how it's supposed to lay out, or how it's shown to lay out.
My question is, do we need to make this rezoning revert if the final plat's not platted at a certain time? I mean, I know we're reluctant to do that, but do we need to?
Yeah, this is, what you're looking at here is the preliminary plat
Okay.
for the developer, and this is what the legal description for the case was based off of.
It was a meets and bounds description, or it was a lot and block description?
We're using the preliminary lot to draw that, because it hasn't been platted
Okay.
yet.
It's clearly able to
Well, with revisions such as you saw in the grading plan,
that gonna mess up our notice?
Well, I don't think it's gonna mess up the notice. I think that we just need to be sure that if you renumber, that it's not gonna create a situation where you've got lot 211, 213, 212, 214, you know what I'm saying? And we just need to keep a logical numbering. Whatever lot number you want for it, we just need to know that prior to taking notice of the county commission. But I think we have an understanding of where this is. That's demonstrated in the map. That's demonstrated in every map the staff has created. That's demonstrated in this class, which labels this as lot 211. So, I mean, we just need to be sure that we get that proposed lot number correct. And that proposed lot number is what's going to be the official lot number once you classify it.
Well, I will tell you that I will issue this brief back to the engineer, and this will be the final number.
When are you gonna build this? Was that what triggered you went to get permits to build the clubhouse and they sent you up here?
I want to go vertical in July with this clubhouse.
Is there an existing clubhouse on that?
All right, so staff is satisfied that we have properly noticed this property that we're here to rezone today. We've properly described it and everything like that.
The boundaries for the notice were based off of this.
Okay.
We provided, the street address, we provided a part of a parcel number. And then two, it was brought to our attention that the lot number was incorrect, but, that's just something that we need to have corrected and finalized for the final zoning that, for whatever is going to be stated on the official resolution of the county commission upon rezoning. That's what needs to be 100% correct. We just need that information prior to sending notice out, prior to the legal advertisement for the county commission hearing, which is what next week.
Okay. All right, and does the rezoning, if we were to recommend approval today, does it need to revert in the event this is not finally platted?
You can make that recommendation, and that's fine.
Do we need
If
to,
it's not platted within,
2 years? Or what do we require, a year?
usually, the old reversionary clauses,
I know, but this is a particular instance, I think, where a reversionary clause makes sense to avoid a split zoning.
that's fine.
Well, are they required to submit for final plat within a year of preliminary plat approval, or is that what our regulations do? Okay, all right, well,
In fact, all this is under construction right now, correct?
yeah, unless construction is continuous, yeah.
It can help alleviate anything.
Or we reviewed the site plans and all this,
Yes,
correct?
yeah, it's currently.
All right, I think that it should just be that it's rezoned, subject to final plat approval. Or it's reverted back if final plat approval is not obtained within, how long is it going to take you to build this out, 2 years?
So I'm intending to, for this phase in particular, I'll have this done and platted to include phase 2 Bravo, August.
Okay, all right, 2 years should be plenty then.
I was going to say, if you plan on going vertical in July, we're going to need to get that final plat.
Right.
We can't even issue permits until that final plat is signed.
so the contingency is a 2-year reversion clause if it's not platted, final plat isn't within 2 years?
All right, thank you, sir. Sorry for all the technicalities on that. All right, we'll close the public hearing, call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion on zoning case Z 220012 with a reversion clause that if the final plat is not recorded within 2 years, that it reverts back to the existing zoning.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right, the ayes have it. Thank you, sir. Our next case is Z 22-14, Cindy Birchfield and Virginia Birchfield's request for a change of zoning to A1 for a mobile home, 1 acre in the Brookwood area.
This is a map that you've already been rezoned from I-814 site is 1 acre in the Brooklyn area. It complies with the A1 and zone development criteria. There was no opposition to the staff recommendation.
Thank you. Is the applicant here? All right, is there anyone here in opposition to this case? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend approval of zoning case Z 220014.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Next case is Z 22-15, Tyrone and Samuel Griffin's request for a change of zoning to A1 for agricultural use, 20 acres in the Pinson area. Mr. Brown, if you would, please present the case.
Yes, sir. So this is a map amendment for rezoning from A1 and R1. So we'll split zoning into rezone to A1 agricultural class of zoning classification for an agricultural use. The site is 5502 Auburndale Road, in the Pinson area. The site consists of 20.66 acres. There was a letter of opposition submitted with this request, but staff is recommending approval. The opposition is considered back to the staff report.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll now open the public hearing and ask for anyone here in opposite, or excuse me, ask if the applicant wishes to come forward. They may do so at this time. All right. Is there any opposition to this case? All right. Are there any questions from the commission or any discussion? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend approval of zoning case Z 220015.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, the ayes have it. All right, our next case is Z 22-16, Sardis Baptist Church's request for a change of zoning in order to align zoning with proposed subdivision of property, resulting in proposed Lot 1 being zoned institutional for compliance for an existing church and proposed Lot 2 to A1 for future residential use. This is approximately 9.52 acres in the Sardis area. Mr. Brown?
Yes, sir. So this is a map amendment for rezone from rezoning zoning classifications A1 institutional 1 CU to the institutional 1 and A1 zoning classifications for a church and for a residential use. The property is located at 1107 and 1109 Sardis Road. This is the Gardendale area. The site consists of 9.52 acres in the zone. Letters of opposition submitted with this rezoning request, and staff recommends approval.
All right, thank you, sir. We'll now open the public hearing. Is the applicant here?
Yes.
All right, great. Mr. Gilbert, do you wish to come forward and add anything?
Yes, there's one thing that he could point out.
Okay.
There was a mistake made on the map where if I could point out, okay, this was a correction, okay. Okay, we actually intend to change the line from this point to this point.
Okay. Okay. Is that something? Yeah, that's. Let's. Is that something we can address in the subdivision case? That, and we'll go ahead. It doesn't. I mean,
since they're companion cases.
yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
But, for instance, if you were to approve this layout, and they were to come back with a final plat that showed that adjustment, I don't know that we would bring that back.
Yeah, administratively, as long as it complied. Yeah.
I mean, conceptually, it's the same thing, it's just the dimensional or specific bearings are a little different.
Mr. Gilbert, you've probably submitted 1,000 subdivision cases to us. Is what you're describing, does it comply with our lot widths and our subdivision regulations?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, good. All right, thank you for that explanation. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case? All right, seeing none, I'll take a motion on the zoning case.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend approval for zoning case Z 220016.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. We'll go now to the companion subdivision case. It's S22-13, and this is the two-lot subdivision for the applicant for the previous case. Mr. Martin, if you would please.
This is, the purpose of the subdivision is to convey 3 acre tracts into 2 lots of record for existing church and the property that we in terms of this line moving here or here, it would still
Okay. All right, just as a formality, we'll open the public hearing on this case now and ask for anyone here in opposition to please come forward. All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S-22-0013 as presented.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right, the ayes have it. Thank y'all. Our next zoning case is Z22-17, Caesar Duarte Tovar's request for a request to change of zoning to A1 to remove split zoning for compliance for residential use of approximately 4.95 acres in the Trafford area. Mr. Brown, if you would please present the case for us.
Yes, sir. As you mentioned, this is a map of the rezone property from A1 and I1 and to remove split zoning of the property and bring the existing residential use into compliance. The site is located in the traffic area, contains 4.95 acres. There was no letters of opposition submitted or phone calls. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. We'll now open the public hearing and ask if the applicant wishes to come forward and add anything to the presentation. All right, thank you. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend approval on zoning case Z220017.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right, the ayes have it. Our next zoning case is Z22-18, Shelley Lynn Allen and Vicky P. Allen's request for a change of zoning to C1 for a gas station, 4.83 acres in the Forestdale area. Mr. Brown, if you would please go ahead when you're ready.
Yes, sir. So this is a map amendment to rezone property from R1 to C1 for gas station. The site consists of several parcels. It's located, as you mentioned, in the Forestdale area, contains 4.83 acres. There was no opposition to this rezoning request, and staff recommended.
All right, thank you. We'll now open the public hearing and ask if the applicant wishes to come forward. Please do so at this time. All right. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case? All right. Seeing none, is there any discussion from the Planning Commission or any questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Sir, if you would come forward, I think Mr. Lowry's got a quick question or two. And if you could please state your name and address for us.
Michael Williams, 729 Pineview Lane, Collar.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Williams. Go ahead, Mr. Lowry.
Thank you, Mr. Williams, thanks. So we have a site plan. I know it's not on display, but that's okay. That's okay. What I don't have is an elevation plan of what the station's going to look like.
Well, we've got a simple plan at the moment, but yes, it should be there as well.
Okay, it's not in my package, so that's why I was asking, so.
The full plan can be very simple elevation plan at the moment.
So could you tell us a little bit about what it's going to look like?
Yeah.
Oh, you sure that's the same one? No, that's for 20.
It's actually a convenience store.
This is for 20. I got that. We got two guests.
We're taking
That's not
lots, converting it to one.
Oh. I have it, I'm sorry.
I've got some in my.
Okay, I apologize, we have two stations in the caseload today, and I do have your drawings. I just put them together because I thought they were the same station.
The other side plan shows the service side.
I don't have any more questions. I just want to make it consistent with this plan.
You'll see we're gonna have to take a road and go, there we go.
Okay.
Mr. Williams, I don't have any more questions. I apologize, I didn't have this properly in my package, so.
But anyway, this is showing, the location of the convenience store, and the location of the pump island, and
floor plan in my
Would it be acceptable that we make this contingent on substantial conformance with the plans you submitted?
contingent on the real elevation.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
This is awfully close to the interstate, or the I-22. AlDOT, y'all got an AlDOT tying approval and everything?
AlDOT approval as well as AGM approval.
Have y'all talked with AlDOT?
Yeah, my engineer had considerable conversation.
Yeah, I bet.
With AlDOT, because this piece of property, when they came through and widened Cherry Avenue and did the interstate, they destroyed several of the monuments that were out there.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the surveyors had to spend a lot of time with AlDOT.
Yeah.
Their trailer and a bit back and forth, but anyway, they finally were able to locate and reconstruct the monuments, to get us a decent site plan.
Yeah, and all AlDOT's legal descriptions were probably based off of stations that they created, not actual legal descriptions. They don't like to do that.
Yeah. We lost a little bit of the property along the front edge, because of the recreation and their setbacks, so anyway.
Yeah.
We do have a restricted area from the top left corner down to where that last lot is. We can't cross over there to get into that property.
Okay.
So it has to be that final little lot at the bottom where we gain access, and that's why the driveway's so long to get to.
Right.
But they're planning at some future date to develop those other properties with fast food or whatever they can get in there.
Yeah. All right, good. I just wanted to give you a heads up. I know you know what you're doing, but if you hadn't talked with them yet, AlDOT, that's probably what they were going to do to you.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm doing one of these in unincorporated Shelby County as well as one in Vance. They'll
Yeah.
all be similar.
Yeah.
But it's not buddies.
Yeah, you'll have the pleasure of dealing with Randy Cole down there.
Sir?
You'll have the pleasure of dealing with Randy Cole down there. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Bruh.
Sir, are y'all gonna be on sanitary sewer, or are you gonna have to use on-site?
It'll be on-site disposal.
Have you had a chance to do any kind of preliminary research to see what will work?
Well, we do all sorts. We do main systems, small systems. My engineers do that. But until we can get in there and get it cleared somewhat, till we can do some perk tests on it, we don't know. But we're very familiar with doing just about any system that is required.
I'm gonna give you a word of caution.
Sir?
I'm gonna give you a word of caution.
I appreciate that.
Please take the time out to determine what type of system you can get there. There's a C-store that has gone in up near I-22, and there is no sanitary sewer available along I-22 at this time. It may be a while. Soil conditions, because they've gone in and cut back areas, you may not have any natural soil there. You may find that the soil conditions are not favorable. So I'm just cautioning you to please, don't get too far ahead of yourself without determining what can go in.
Makes
Voice of
sense.
experience.
Makes sense.
I'm not saying you can't. I'm just
Well, I
telling you,
understand, but yes,
it took a lot of dealing to get that C-store in place. They actually had the cart in front of the horse,
yes.
and they had some issues. They finally got it resolved, but I'm just cautioning you,
Yeah,
please.
we've got the Vance store that we're doing for another customer currently. Widening of Highway 11 through Vance. They will not have our sewer line in until September, October. So we're having to use one of the old existing septic tanks. And we'll have to pump it occasionally, but it's kind of an odd situation, but yes.
All right. Thank you. All right. Any other discussion from the commission? All right. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend approval on zoning case Z 22018 with the contingency that the site plan and the elevation plan submitted that they comply substantially with that.
All right.
Second.
Mr. Morrison, you got a question about the motion?
Yeah, given the fact that, again, we've got to go back up there and do the work test and everything, it may cost or may call for an alteration of that site plan. Do you really want to see the site plan again, or are you just more concerned about the aesthetics? Concerned about the aesthetics, then we can do that again today, but I'm just telling you this because it's likely that that site plan could alter and change, and this have to come back before you.
I heard him say it's substantially similar, and so that some leeway. I mean, I think if it's just somewhat in character with what's presented, I think that's the intent. I think.
So I'm comfortable, so I think there's leeway.
What's on your mind, Mr. Morrison? Tell me what. I mean, if you got concerns, I always love to hear them. So
I think from our side, Road and Trans, we could end up asking for that intersection to line up with Roberta Road. There could be some maneuvering of the road there.
well, Aldot's already shoved them as far south as they can get them.
We're going to show them a little further south.
Well, it's going to be off the property.
Maybe coming at an angle. There, I know there's non-access. It just depends.
I still think all those changes are substantially in compliance to me.
Okay. Don't drive past it 5 years and see it flip the other way around. I'm just saying.
Well, if it's flipped all the way around, I think it's still substantially in compliance. I mean, it's the spirit of the thing. I mean, it's.
I renew my second.
All right. Is there any further discussion before we call it for a vote? All right. We got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. All right. Let's have it. Thank you, sir. Our next case is Z22-19, Danny and Jan Christmas's request for a change of zoning to A1 for residential use to include farmland. This is 18.43 acres in the Morris area. Mr. Brown, go ahead, please.
So this is a map amendment for a rezone from I-3 industrial to A1 agricultural for residential use to include farmland properties located at 2050 Morris Majestic Road and 2101 Guthrie Drive, Morris Road, site 18.43 acres. Opinion subdivision case. I believe they're re-subdividing 2 tracks in before 3 of the lots would have state-built homes and 1 of the 4th lot would remain vacant. There was no opposition to this rezoning.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brown. We'll now open the public hearing and call for the applicant to come forward if they wish. Yeah. Yeah, if you'd like to add anything to your presentation, to the staff's presentation, you can, or if not, you can wait to see if there's any opposition. Okay. Give us your name and address so we've got it for our record.
Danny Christmas.
Okay.
2101 Guthrie Drive.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. All right. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case? All right. Seeing none, is there any questions? Are there any questions from the commission? All right. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend approval of zoning case Z220019.
Second.
All right. I've got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right. Let's have it. All right. The corresponding subdivision case is S22-26. Mr. Martin, if you would please go ahead and present that case for us.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, as stated earlier, this is a proposed 4-lot subdivision. This is part of the larger parent tract that was split at some point in time, and there was a concurrent, or excuse me, another subdivision case just out of here recently where we rezoned and platted this property. This actually did have a subdivision case in the past, however, it was never final. Final plat was never approved, or excuse me, recorded. Staff recommendation is approved.
All right. We'll now open the public hearing and we'll call for the applicant first. If they wish to come forward, they can do so at this time. I'm sorry, this is a subdivision case. Is there any opposition to this case? All right. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve S22-0026 as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right, the ayes have it. All right. Our next zoning case is Z22-20. Luis Douglas Nolan, Johnny Lee Nolan, and James Robert Nolan's request for a change of zoning to C1 for a convenience store with a gas station and deli of 5.56 acres in the McCullough area. Mr. Brown, if you would, please present the case for us.
Yes, sir. This is a map amendment for the convenience store, C-store with a gas station, pump hydrants, and a deli. The property is located in the Holland area at 4476 Belleville Road. This is 5.56 acres. This property is within the Shade Creek watershed, master plan area. It's within an urban village land designation, and the zoning is consistent with the land designation. There was one, I believe, one letter of opposition, which should be contained in your packet. If not, I understand for probably there's an insert in your three-ring binder. Staff is recommending approval of this rezone.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brown. We'll now open the public hearing and ask if the applicant wishes to come forward. Please do so at this time. State your name and address for the record, Mr. Beavers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commission members. My name is Charlie Beavers, 4301 Dollar Ridge Road, Birmingham, 35203. It's my privilege to be here on behalf of Mr. Michael Ahmed. He has a contract to purchase property to develop the store on this location. It's 5.3 acre parcel. It is immediately across from the UAB Health Center. It's constructed, that whole area, you all know, going to retail and commercial in that area. We recently developed one you all approved about 2 years ago at Eastern Valley, Maction, which is going extremely well. We'll have a very nice meeting free within the facility. Hope it favorable consideration. We have to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Beavers. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case? All right. Seeing none, Mr. Lowry, was this the case you had some questions about, or are there anyone else?
I do have some questions.
All right, go ahead when you're ready.
So, Mr. Beavers and Mr. Brown, would you pull up the plot plan on the screen for us? So, Mr. Beavers, I was interested in you orienting me. So the parcel's quite a, I'm not sure from my geometry class what kind of if it's a
Polygon.
polygon, okay. So could you orient us as to where the station is with respect to the plot plan? There's a little laser pointer right there on the top of the podium.
And I should have mentioned that not only is Mr. Ahmed here, was his engineer Brian Fresnel is here with us as well. Bell Hill, station right on the main road.
Okay, all right, good. So regards to that, so you have a whole lot of property behind that. What are plans for that?
They have no particular plan for that. They expect they'll have to come back and do whatever they need to do to get that approved down the line.
So you'd be okay with an approval for the use specified and anything else come back to us?
Well,
Yes.
What you thinking, Mr. Chairman?
well, I hate to pigeonhole the land use indefinitely, as to one thing, would be the only thing. And so I would prefer to exclude certain land uses if they're allowed or permitted under the zoning ordinance within this classification that we don't believe are compatible with the surrounding areas.
And I mean, in this particular area, we're going to be experiencing some high growth as a response to the hospital going in.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's much of anything in C1 that you want to exclude.
Okay.
I mean, we're going to see drugstores, you're going to see restaurants, you're going to see
Yeah, but,
Well, I think Mr. Lowry's can,
so my concern is controlling the aesthetics of it.
You could even, you could request for architectural.
Of any additional uses on the property?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got a question.
yes, Dr. Dickerson, go right ahead.
What is this street view?
That's an image from Google Earth of the property.
But where is this, where does this sit in terms of where this is going? Or is this just a view of the, what is?
I think that the applicant could answer this better than me, but I think that their structure, their actual C-store itself is probably going to be right around the footprint of the existing house.
Around that house?
They'll tear the house down.
If you look at the next page, Doctor,
Okay.
you can kind of see where the existing structure is and then where the C-store is proposed.
So this house is to be purchased?
It looks like it's part of the property being purchased.
Yes, ma'am. That whole property's been purchased.
Okay. Okay.
Dr. Dixon, a lot of those homes are going up for sale, and they'll be going up for commercial use, because they anticipate the hospital coming, so they're making economic decisions.
Reverse, Bell Hill's at the other side of the stage we're just looking at, but this is the front part of the property that goes back this way. That shows you how it's oriented, that's the house that's on there now, of course, it's coming out.
Okay.
Without the site plan.
Yeah, I was trying to understand where this house is. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Beavers, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
No, go ahead.
So there appears that there's a residential property or a property to the east of where your station's going to be going in.
Right in here.
Yes. Well, I'm not sure. Actually, no, it'll be below to the south on that drawing. Mr. Brown, is that a residential area? I'm sorry, I'm flipping through my notes here. Actually, it looks like it's low-density residential.
To the south, you see that's A1
Yeah, okay. So, but it's a house, so I'm interested what your buffering plan is for the residential area.
The anticipation of our clients being that, you're talking about this property right here.
Yes, sir.
This whole frontage here is projected to be, C1, development, so they haven't thought that this was something that would need to be buffered, but,
I'm just
anticipate
thinking-
that this road's gonna be improved, we already pretty neat, and, this whole area, they expect to be, changed drastically because of the hospital.
Well, I'm trying to think about the people that live there, maybe a privacy fence to,
Depends on the site plan is presented. It would be required buffering if it adjoins residential zoning at the time. So it all depends on when this
Yeah.
actual construction happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think that to be relieved of any kind of buffering, we're rezoning this to commercial. To be relieved of any kind of buffering, I would suspect they'd have to go to BZA to get a variance, right?
If they would want to waive the buffer.
If they wanted to, otherwise, our ordinance already builds a buffer in. And that's the question I've got about this larger residential neighborhood, that the way this is oriented, I assume it's to the west. You know, if you look at your site plan, and I know this is preliminary, but just looking at it here, it looks like, I'm on page 9 of the application, the conceptual development plan. I don't see any buffering on it, and it looks like the parking lot will go pretty close to the edge of the property. So if you're going to be required to put a buffer in because it technically abuts a residential zoning, even though there's a big old wooded area right there next to it, just bear that in mind when you're going through your design, that you probably going to be going to the BZA if you want relief from that buffering requirement.
Or complying with the buffer requirements.
Right.
which would be,
Primary, okay.
Yeah.
That can be
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir, and I have one question.
Yes, sir.
If the Bell Hill Road is more, if it's turned, I guess the convenience store would be in alignment with Bell Hill, how it's kind of turned now on the property, I guess you have room to adjust. Yeah. If Bell Hill incorporates some of the property from roads and transportation, y'all would still have enough room to align the convenience store?
We looked at that just a while ago, and Brian can confirm for me, Brian Personnel and Civil, but there's plenty of room to move it, to do what they need to do, accommodate whatever needs to be done out here. There's plenty of room.
Yes, we can provide a preliminary. Bell Hill is currently under design for a project, so in this area, I can't speak for sure, but we can provide you with a preliminary alignment. That way we can be in communication.
Yeah, I just hate for y'all to go down the road and the actual road be coming through the bumps.
You're anticipating being on sewer, right? Sanitary sewer?
All right, yeah, and it looks like the letter of opposition is about wooding and buffering and things like that, which we've already addressed. So, thank you, Mr. Beavers. Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend approval of zoning case Z220020 with two covenants. One, that the architectural plan submitted is substantially complied with, and two, if there's any addition on the property, that both architecture and site plans come back to the Planning Commission for review and approval.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right, the ayes have it. Thank you.
So just to make sure we understand, so if the site plan changes significantly enough, you, the staff, needs to come back here for that.
Correct.
That's right. And if any...
Let me clarify. So, Mr. Beavers, let me clarify. So the current site plan, so for what you proposed, only the architectural plan, not the site plan. So the one at the top, not the bottom.
Gotcha. Okay, well, that's...
But if you build something new, you're going to come back with a site plan and an architectural plan.
It's different from that.
Yes, if you add something to the property.
Okay. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. All right, our next case is Z22-21, Sumley Rand LLC's request to extend I-3 strip mining zoning for an additional 32 months and 15 days to allow completion of a strip mining operation to cease and revert to A1 no later than March 15, 2025. This is interesting. All right, Mr. Morrison.
Yes, sir. Several years ago, this request was approved to rezone a large acreage of property for mining activities. And part of that approval, there was certain restrictions that were placed on. All those restrictions were laid out in your packet. And there was also a time restriction limiting it to a number of years. Several years later, they came through to amend that request to extend the time period for another amount of years. And now they're returning back to request yet another extension for which to finish the mining operation of this particular portion. Now, adjacent to the east is an existing strip mining operation as well as to the south. And they have been pretty diligent, pretty good about getting all the mining complete from in progressions from the existing mines and getting it off the property. So now it's just this small piece that remains that they've requested adequate amount of time in order to complete it. And following the completion of all the mining operations on the property, the zoning of the property will revert back to agricultural as it abuts adjacent residential neighborhoods. So that will protect them at the end of the day, and it allows the applicant to extract all of the mineral resources that they're required.
All right, thank you. We have a public hearing on this?
Yes, sir.
All right. We'll now open the public hearing and ask if the applicant wishes to come forward and add anything to the presentation.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, Charlie Beavers, 4301 Dollar Ridge Road, 352. strips will be anticipated to be completed. And so they take a section out, complete it, come to another section, and on up until they're completed. So much of the mining will be open, well before the time they requested. Also, the mining area is not the entire approximately 49 acre tract. We included more than they need to mine. The mining area is indicated in the with those with a corridor for removal of coal. There's a 150-foot natural buffer within the area that's subject to this extension. We did that because we wanted the buffer to be a part of this. It's part of the covenants that will continue. And then there's a substantial distance between the edge of the mining area and the property as well. They will need to transport vehicles across some of that, and they need that brown area up at the top is a pond that will be a permanent lake there, and they build putting that in, and they'll need to finish the reclamation. You can see to the south, all of that was a part of the original zoning, which they mined out, all that gray area, to the south and to the right, they completed that. They just had this relatively small, probably about 25 acres of land left to mine, and then they'll do the reclamation.
All right, thank you, Mr. Beavers. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case? Any questions from the commission?
I just have some discussion. So,
Okay.
do we want to maintain or retain the covenants with this rezoning?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. That's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Mr. Beavers, are you aware of those
Yes,
conditions? Those are agreeable to the applicant?
They are.
So essentially, we just be modifying that date, changing that date to the 2025 date.
You learn a lot, Beth, sitting on this committee. What are y'all mining out there? Is it chert? Is it rock?
Coal.
It is coal?
Yes.
Okay. I saw a note in here about coal hauling trucks, but I wasn't sure.
Yes, and then the follows covenants, all they have to go in a certain route.
Yeah.
And the like, and there are strict time limitations when they can start and end each day, limitations on all kinds of aspects.
Yep, heavily regulated. All right, thank you. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, sorry, let me get back to my page. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval for zoning case Z 220021 with the existing covenants with the modification to the date as discussed in the case file.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, the ayes have it. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. All right, that concludes our meeting. Thank y'all.
That was pretty fast or something.
It wasn't supposed to be either.
Exactly. I wasn't expecting this. It was good, but it was tough.
Yeah.
Simple.
At least it wasn't as contentious.